Good morning, fellow Nigerians and those in diaspora. It's a new month today, the first day in the month of August, month of jubilation, celebrations, and achievement by God's grace. I wish you all the best in this new month of August, the 8th month in the year of 2023. My name is Morire Rabila Lawal, and it's a program again, newspaper headlines from BGI TV Current. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell, select option all to access all of our broadcasts as regards our national news and world news. But this program right now, it's what is coming from the dailies in Nigeria. My name is Morire Rabila Lawal Ige. Good morning.
Good morning, Morire Rabila. I hope your night was great.
I'm fine.
Thank God it's a new month, the month of August 2023, the month of new return of glory. And I pray that this month shall be success for us all in Jesus' name. To all our viewers around the world, I say good morning to all of you this morning. My name is Ige or Lalekon. So I want you to sit tight as we take you through the dailies paper review for this morning. Morire, your headlines.
All right, the one I'm having usually, it's the Punch newspaper, and from the top left, I have the story that Senate screens 14, tackles nominees over age tax. And the next one, external reserves shared 167 million US dollar as Naira slumps further. Tinubu decorates service chiefs, generals pledge loyalty. And the very center point this morning is coming from the subsidy pains. Labour insists on protest as Tinubu okays 500 billion Naira palliative, 3,000 buses. Another one again from the sports angle. It's so good to be doing what you know how to do best by putting zeal, continuity and dedication. Gallant Falcons pocket 1 billion Naira, reach World Cup last 16. As regards the fuel price hike, drivers threaten to dump both Uber. Also, residents groan as medical workers desert collapse Ogun Health Center. Abductors collected 350,000 Naira. The release me says Ondo kidnapped victim. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, Niger junta arrests top politicians. Germany withdraws aid. All of these riders are on the Punch newspaper. But before we go in details, I'd like to talk about what the president said yesterday as regards his address to the nation. And there are so many significance in his speech and everything he analyzed and explained that yes, we shouldn't expect an immediate change in Nigeria, but all the same, we should tolerate the policies he's been implementing or policies that yes, is bringing further to Nigeria. Right now we're going through this hardship here and there, but all the same, we shall be the one to smile all over it. And aside that, I'd like to emphasize or talk about the part that he said all public schools in Nigeria should have access to free transportation by signing the release of luxurious buses for the transportation of students from their homes to the school and so many others. While on the program, in case I have the speech, I will surely read parts of it. What have you, Ige?
Okay, Morire, with me I have the Vanguard newspaper and at the same time the Nigerian Tribune. And from the Vanguard, from the masthead, tension as ex-Emir Sanusi portrait reappeared in Kano Government House. 110 suspects arrested as Fintiri released curfew. Visit looted warehouse. Tinubu order federal institution to stop arbitrary fees high. And from the bold headline, Tinubu attacks Hardship with 500 billion Naira palliative. While from the Nigerian Tribune, Oyo workers protest, lock secretariat, Senate screens, Nweke, Edun, Tunji Ojo, 11 others, sustain vows and go practice. And from the board headline, salary review coming, 125 billion Naira to energize MSME, and that is according to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Then another headline, mixed reaction trails Tinubu's address. And with others, I want you to sit tight, all our viewers, and enjoy the program as we take you on the robust discussion this morning. Morire, over to you.
Yes, it's a new day, a new month, and I still want to say, may God bless Nigeria than what Nigeria is before today, and may God Almighty ease every pains out of Nigerians, because we can only pray to God and request His mercies upon us. Amen. Can we have some stories about the headlines you just talked about here?
Okay, from my own end here, if we look at the first headline I'm going to talk about, tension as ex-Emir Sanusi portrait reappears in Kanu's government house. Now, the question is Sanusi Lamido coming back to the throne? That is the first thing we need to find out. But why would his portrait be displayed again? Why he has been dethroned from office? Although we know he had a kind of tussles with the former governor of Kano State in person of Ganduje. And we know these issues have been lingering for a long time. But I believe since a lot of things that happened along the line, and the emir has been divided and a lot of emirs have been appointed and are on the throne. So the question now is, are they trying to integrate those territories that have been divided, the kingdom that have been divided? Is Emir Sanusi coming back to the throne? Moriri, your take on that?
We can't talk about Emir Sanusi coming back to the throne because the story needs to be read, and so we have a good picture about it. And even such portrait is coming, maybe the person who placed his portrait in the government house maybe is a loyalist to Lamido Sanusi, and possibly wanting to have this continuity with his loyalty to former or deposed emir, former emir Kano State emir, which we know is the major royal position in Kano, which the former governor of Kano State removed him from the palace and installed someone else. And so to say, even the picture or portraits reappears in the government house. I do not see anything bad about it, because the person will surely have his own reason for bringing the portraits to the government house, and this is nothing concerning political or any agitations.
Okay, let me quickly take you on this from the Nigerian Tribune now. Oyo workers protest, locked state secretariat, demand palliative orders. The Oyo state workers on Monday locked the state secretariat in Ibadan to demand palliatives, upward review of pension allowances, and payment of salary deduction. Participating in the protest are workers and pensioners under the banners of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Trade Union Congress, Nigerian Union of Pensioners, Nigerian Union of Local Government and Employees, and their affiliates. Led by their union leader, the workers also demanding payment of leave bonuses, payment of gratuity to retirees who have stagnated since the year 2021, and release of promotion letter for the year 2021 and 2022. Now, there have been a lot of clamor that, okay, some of those governors are working this and that and the rest of it. But at this point in time, what could have led to the protest in Oyo State, even though we know that, okay, the Nigerian Labour Congress are saying that, okay, they will be going on strike due to the fuel hike and some other things, the subsidy and the rest of it. But if you look at it, the one of Oyo State yesterday started and people were like, they were suffering and people were angry. Now, the union are coming together. They are trying to form a synergy now. Because, at times when the government negotiates with a particular fraction of the union, you discover that others will say, no, we are not more going on strike. But this time around, Nigerian Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress, and the Nigerian Union of Pensioners are coming together, even including the local government employees. They are trying to form a synergy, and what they did was that they locked up the secretariat and said no, they want to demand for their rights. Moriri, what is your take on all this?
My take remains the fact that if the workers are chanting, they want the presence of the state governor, I support their motion. I support their agitation. Reason being that, according to the story, they are feeling that they are being misinterpreted before the governor. And so many misinterpretation is given to the governor concerning what the workers are requesting. They are requesting increments in salaries, incentives, some other regular promotions, and the retirees that have not been paid their gratuity, to mention a few. So if they are locking up the secretariat, it means majority of the government workers who attend to them anytime they are on a protest like this, they have been deceiving the workers, and their messages is not yielding any fruition. So if they demand to see the governor himself, I think they have the right to protest peacefully and make their request known to the governor, and they want the governor alone to address them.
Okay, let me quickly take you on this. From the Vanguard newspaper, Tinubu attacked Hardship with 500 billion naira palliative. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday unveiled measures to cushion the effect of the economic downturn caused by fuel subsidy removal in the country, telling Nigerians he understood the hardship and came to help, not to hurt them. He, however, approves 100 billion naira for the procurement of 3,020-seaters buses fueled by compressed natural gas (CNG) to ease the high cost of transportation caused by fuel subsidy removal. The president also said in his administration would energize micro, small and medium-sized enterprise and the informal sector as drivers of growth with 125 billion naira. He said of the sum, 50 billion would be spent on the conditional grants to 1 million nano business between now and March 2024, explaining that the government's target was to give 50,000 each to 1,300 nano business owners in each of the 774 local governments across the country. As he was being sworn in on May 29, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu implemented full removal of fuel subsidy, leading to hike in fuel price from 200 between 567 naira to 617 naira per litre across the country. He also abolished multiple exchange rates, forcing the dollars to exchange for over 850 at the black market.
All right, the next story I have here is coming from the Kano State. A portrait of the former Emir of Kano State, I beg your pardon. A portrait trending on social media showing the 14th Emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, hanging on the coronation wall of Kano State Government House has stirred up tension in the ancient city of Kano. The tension could not be unconnected to earlier speculations about plans by the new government to sack the emirs installed by the immediate past governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje and return the dethroned Emir Sanusi II as the sole Emir of Kano State. The State House of Assembly had recently denied its link to reports about plans to abolish the newly created emirate. Now, the story genuinely, which I just read now, is that the present governor of the state, of Kano State, is trying to look into what actually transpired between former governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje and the dethroned Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido II. And if investigation proves that the dethronement of Sanusi was illegal, unconstitutional, definitely there will be a reinstatement. And I want to make it clear to everyone that when Kano used to be the Kano that I have knowledge about, it was just with one king who happens to be an uncle to Sanusi Lamido, Alhaji Ado Bayero, died during the reign of Kwankwaso as the governor of Kano State then, before he now installed Sanusi Lamido to succeed late Alhaji Ado Bayero. Now, if there is any reinstatement, it means that they've checked and balanced whatever transpired between Abdullahi Umar Ganduje and the dethroned Sanusi Lamido. That's also a justification about the portrait of Sanusi Lamido seen at the Kano State Government House. My first take now on the Punch newspaper. The organized labor has said it will hold its planned nationwide protest on Wednesday, despite the Monday rollout of subsidy removal palliative plans by President Bola Tinubu. Tinubu had in a national broadcast unveiled 500 billion naira palliative for manufacturers, small businesses and farmers. He also released plans to increase salaries and acquire 3,000 mass transit buses. And on the rider subsidy pains, Labour insists on protest as Tinubu okays 500 billion naira palliative, 3,000 buses.
I think this is a commendable one, but at the same time, I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu still need to, extend his gesture to let it cut across, because when you say you want to put more measures in trying to cushion the effect of transportation in order to ease people's movement from one place to another due to the fuel hike and the rest of it like that. What about other area, like in the area of people needs to eat in terms of food production and some other things? Although we know he has a giant stride that he made mention of the other time, that is going to encourage the farmers to go back to farm and to make sure that he make provision for all what will be needed to make sure that Nigerians had abundance of food.
The president has not denied palliative to going around. What he mentioned to support manufacturers and small businesses, and also all we just need to talk about the palliative which the president talked about during his speech delivery yesterday should remain that if there are mechanisms in place to making sure this palliative are channeled throughout the plans of the president, definitely Nigeria will smile again. The next one I'm having here, junta-led Burkina Faso and Mali won against military intervention in Niger. As regards the coup which happened in Niger Republic, I see something smelling around Africa, lingering on the African continent. Reason why President Bola Ahmed Tinubu removed many of those chief of staffs or security chief of staffs or security personnel bosses, I like to say that he acted smartly with wisdom by changing the ends of affairs at the military, the Air Force, the Navy, the police, to mention a few. Now put in place some people who you believe they cannot plan a coup. Because if the coup gain ground the way it's happened in Niger, because the people who even pointed gun at the president, Muhammadu Bazoum, are his right-hand security aides. So there had been a discussion from the military base across Niger that, yeah, this is what we want. I don't blame them. If President Mohamed Bazoum and his cabinet had remained loyal, had remained focused and wanting to dispense good governance on the people of Niger, they wouldn't be telling each ministers to come and give them the records, balance, facts about spendings, expenditures, expenses, budgets in Niger, and they'll be crying on a live broadcast. It's so disheartening that Africa still remains backward when it comes to leadership. Junta-led, the warning from Niger's military-ruled neighbors came a day after West African leaders, supported by their Western partners, threatened to use force to reinstate the democratically elected Bazoum and slapped financial sanctions on the chiefs. There's a story coming from the Punch newspaper with the headline, Junta-led Burkina Faso and Mali won against military intervention in Niger.
And I want to take you through the Nigerian Tribune. Yesterday we talked about the looted issue that happened in Adamawa State. Now we have this. Adamawa government reviews 24 hours curfew. Now, let's look at it. There was a situation in Adamawa yesterday while the people were trying to make sure that they looted the warehouse. But let's find out what really happens. Adamawa government reviews 24 hours curfew, give fresh directive Adamawa state government had reviewed 24 hours curfew earlier imposed on Sunday across the state. The state government on Monday reviewed the curfew from 24 hours earlier declared to 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. This development is to enable people to continue with their lawful business. Recall that Governor Amadu Fintiri of Adamawa State imposed a 24 hours curfew across the state as a result of attack on business premises by hoodlums. According to the report, the curfew, which became effective on Sunday, 30th July, was necessitated by unwarranted activities of hoodlums. The hoodlum, it was gathered, broke into shops and business premises and catered away foodstuffs, commodities, and the rest. Now, if you look at it, in the first place, what led to the curfew in the state? The government, has it been able to put things in order for people to be able, for hoodlum to have start going out to start looting shop and things like that? It means that the hardship in the state has gone beyond control. And for the government to take control of it, although declaring a state of emergency or putting curfew in place is a right thing by the governor, but at the same time, are the people in the state being able to have enough to cater for them before they go on such a curfew? Because when you declare a curfew, there will be no movement. People won't be able to go out from one place to the other. Muri, what's your take on that?
The only thing I can talk about is that after the act of the hoodlums and youths in the state to have gone to broken down the locks at the warehouse, and it means there was a breakdown of law and order, and unrest has taken over the air. So the curfew is to restrain and restrict movements, vehicular and people's movements from normal activities, to just to make sure everything is coming back normal and the way it ought to be. So the only thing that can restrict people is the curfew between so hours, and they need to enforce it, and people need to abide by it. And when people follow these instructions, definitely the governor shall talk again to address the state by bringing out the palliative, because the hardship is enormous and unbearable. And that was why and what led to the breaking down of law and order in the states.
Okay, recently we talked about the fee hike from the various federal institutions in the country. But in today's paper, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu ordered federal institutions to stop arbitrary fee hike. Because if you look at the situation of the country, coupled with the fuel scarcity, the hike in price of, or the subsidy, the hike in price of, goods in the market, and the rate of unemployment in the country, coupled with all the difficulties, all the pain, suffering that the masses are going through, the school are still increasing the price of fee for students that want to study, that want to further their education. But right now, the president had given an order that all the federal schools should make sure that they, discontinue the act of such increment in school hike. What is your take on that?
It's a nice decision by the president. Moving on, the Senate on Monday commenced the screening of the 28 ministerial nominees forwarded to it by President Bola Tinubu last week. 14 out of the 28 ministerial nominees were screened by the Senate at a session presided over by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. They were Abubakar Kyari Bernu, Abubakar Momo Edo, former Governor Nyesom Wike, Rivers John Eno from Cross River, former Governor Abubakar Badaru Jigawa, Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tugar Bauchi, and Honorable Inkiruka Onye Jiocha Abia. Others were Bello Mohammed Sokoto, Professor Joseph Utsef Benue, Senator Abubakar Denladi Taraba, Barrister Uju Ken Oaneye Anambra, Honorable Olubumi Tunji Ojo Odo, Beta Edu Cross River, and Iman Suleiman Ibrahim from Nasarawa State. And the writer again, Senate screens 14, tackles ministerial nominees over age and task. on the Punch newspaper this morning.
And from the Nigerian Tribune, I have this. Proposed NLC strike capable of plunging Nigeria into deeper economic woes, and that is according to Senate. The Nigerian Senate has expressed concern over the proposed nationwide strike by the Nigerian Labour Congress, stating that it poses a significant threat to the nation's gross domestic product and overall well-being. Recall that NSC a few days ago gave the federal government a 7-day ultimatum to reverse all perceived anti-poor policies or face an indefinite nationwide strike from August 12th. Reacting to the proposed industrial action by the NLC during the Senate preliminary section on Monday, the upper chamber, according to information obtained through Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, stated that there is more to lose than gain from the strike. More to lose than gain from the strike. Moriri, your take?
It's a laughing reaction. To me, I describe the reaction of the Senate as a mockery. If they are having millions into their accounts without sweat, without anything to show their representation at the Senate, so if the workers are going on strike, they should understand they are human beings, they are not animals. And I want to say categorically, the Senate have not done enough. So they should allow the protest to go and let people talk about what remains their needs and the change which they've been expecting from the president. And the Senate should understand the fact that if they are getting wardrobe allowance, hazard allowance, traveling allowance, to mention a few, definitely they are not the only one that is meant to be spending the Nigerian currency freely.
Okay, Moriri, I want to take you on two questions now. The first one, I want to take you on what happened at the National Assembly yesterday. There had been this occurrence whereby when Senate are supposed to screen a nominee minister to be, by the time it gets there, maybe it's one of their pals. The next thing you see is they will tell him to bow without asking question. What does he have? What are the things he projects to implement when he gets to office? But let's take a look at this headline. Tinubu won't regret nominating me, and that's according to B0KO. Former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, has said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not regret nominating him as a minister in his cabinet. He stated it when he appeared before the Red Chamber for screening on Monday, 31st July 2023. He said, "I thank Mr. President for nominating me. I believe, knowing how hungry Mr. President is to solving the problem of Nigeria, we have no choice but to give him that required support. And I can assure you, if I am confirmed in whatever capacity, Mr. President will not regret nominating me." In his speech, he stated that during his tenure as governor, he initiated and completed numerous projects to strengthen the state's infrastructure and encourage politicians from both parties to commission them. He said, "As governor, everybody will attest to it that I changed the landscape of Port Harcourt. It's on record. In 4 years, I constructed 9 flyovers. These things can be achieved if you are committed, if you have passion for the job." Moriri, that's B0KO. Your take?
Yes, he's a man of his words. He's a performer, not like some others who occupy positions without doing anything, like the governor of Ogun State, who has been there. This is his 5th year, and there's no record to show that there is an existing governor in the state. I'm not attacking the governor, but I'm only talking about people working and who deserves merits. B0KO deserves it because Rivers State enjoys his 8 years as a governor. And on that part, we are going to call it a wrap. And from the back end, we're having a signal that yes, our time is up in the studio. I'd like to say that thank you for joining us. Thank you for accepting us every time we come on air. And you taking your time to watch and react about what we've talked about. I'm wishing everyone a fruitful month of August by God's grace. My name remains Mo Rabila Lawa. Good morning.
And I believe it has been a wonderful time to all you out there, our viewers. If you enjoyed the robust discussion for today, kindly join us tomorrow for another edition of the program Paper Review on BGI TV Current. At the same time, I'm enjoying you to click, you subscribe, you follow, and at the same time, you like all our session. Bye for now. My name remains Ige or Lalikon. You have a lovely day.